How to increase tendon strength for a better street lifting performance. First of all, let's see what are tendons, how tendons benefit strength training. Well, tendons connect muscle to bone, transferring force and stabilizing joints. So, weak tendons means inefficient force transfer, which limits the ability to lift heavier. So, this is a sign that you should pay more attention to your tendon strength. Tendon plays a big role in how much you can lift, even more than your muscles, okay? Unlike muscles, tendons take longer to adapt. This is why beginners might progress fast in muscle strength, but eventually hit a plateau where their tendons can't keep up. And in street lifting, tendons play a major role in handling heavy centric loading, lowering phase of the dips and pull-ups, preventing injury and absorbing force effectively. So, getting your tendons stronger will also prevent you from getting injured fast. The stronger your tendons are, the less probability of you getting injured and having these inflammations around your joint, your elbow joints, tendons, which can happen a lot. So, how to get tendons stronger? First of all, you need to actually exercise. You need to actually train heavy loading to get your tendons stronger. But there's some methods that you can implement to your training that will help you get your tendons stronger. And before you worrying about these methods, you should be focusing on having a plan, going to the gym, and lifting heavy. Okay? So, first thing we have here is slow eccentrics. Lower yourself slowly in the pull-ups and dips, 1 to 5 second eccentrics to create a high tendon stress and adaptation. Yes, this is a method that helps a lot of lifters break their plateaus because you put a lot of stress in your tendons, which later on will adapt and make you stronger. And also, you're making the exercise even harder by doing the slow eccentrics, more time and retention, more stress in the tendons and the muscles. And you're strengthening all the parts of the movement. For example, the pull-ups, you're here and you go slowly, you're strengthening all these phases. And even on the dips, when you're going down, you're strengthening all the phases from here, when you're locked, to the bottom, going slowly, you're strengthening all these phases, which will help you break plateaus and make you stronger. Then, isometric holds. This is something that I like a lot, and I put it on some of my clients. My clients are more intermediate to advanced. I put this isometric holds on their plan, and holding the position under tension forces your tendons to adapt without excessive movement. Basically doing 90-degree pauses on the dips, lucky chin-ups, pauses in the middle of the pull or a chin-up. It's very similar to the slow eccentrics. You're forcing your body to pause in a position which is probably the hardest part of the movement. On the chin-ups, for example, here on the lockout, on the dips, around 90 degrees. And you're strengthening your tendons, and also you'll have a greater neurological adaptations. And of course, when you train in the hardest part of the movement, it will get stronger, okay? And isometric holds is a very good method to use to strengthen your tendons and get stronger in the hardest positions of the movement. And I will explain how you can implement these methods in your training just now. And also, if you're interested in my coaching, you can schedule a call down below, or you can join my Free Skill community. I have workout plans there, street lifting, street building, calisthenics, and also squat. So you can make some progress, and I want to give you something for free. Next one, we have high rep submaxial work. Tendons respond well to high rep, lower intensity work since it increases blood flow and collagen production. High rep, I think, is a very important thing for street lifters, power lifters, even weightlifters. Because of this, and also the work capacity that you build, the muscles that you develop, which later on, the work capacity, the muscles will help you handle more volume, will help you get stronger. I like to think on the long run. Doing something now that will later on will be very helpful. This is something that I've noticed mostly on powerlifters. They tend to not do high rep work. They always stick to 1 to 5, 1 to 6 rep range for a year. And yes, you will make progress, but I think there will get to a time where you hit this big wall and you get stuck there for months and months and months and even years without seeing any progress. And maybe it's because you have some weak points. Maybe you have low work capacity and you can handle that much volume, or you're getting injured pretty fast because you're not building more muscle. Your tendons probably should have extra work, and when you spend a lot of time in the low rep range heavy weights, you may develop some pains, elbow pain, shoulder pain, due to overworking it. So implementing some high rep work in your program in some phases could be very beneficial. Finally, connective tissue specific training. Arm wrestling exercises, farm carriers, isolation can be helpful for certain areas to get stronger. Something I've seen a lot of with the Soviet athletes is they do a lot of arm wrestling exercises, and I think arm wrestling exercises transfer very well to street lifting, because in street lifting we use a lot of this area, the forearms, the wrists, and the elbow for the pull-ups and the dips. And having a strong tendon in this area will be very beneficial for preventing injuries, for you to get stronger. And arm wrestling exercise, there's a lot of pronation, supination, which makes this area stronger. Also farm carriers for stronger tendon health in your forearms, elbows. Also isolation, like pronated, supinated bicep curls, hammer curls. All of these can be helpful for preventing injuries and helping you with this part of the pull-up, which you use a lot of here, your brachialis. And the thing is, you should experiment and see if it works well. If you implemented it right in your program, it can be beneficial. All these 4 things that I just spoke can be beneficial when implemented in the right time and with the right program in your program. It will work. So how and when to do tendon strengthening exercises? All levels can use these methods to get stronger. As a beginner, not much needed, because you will make progress pretty fast. And as a beginner, you should be focusing more on technique, being consistent, and following an actual plan. As a beginner, you should not be worrying that much about these more advanced methods. You should be focusing on getting a better technique, being consistent with your training, and having a plan that you can follow for months. When you start hitting plateaus, when you get to intermediate level, probably start implementing these more advanced techniques. As an intermediate and advanced, it makes a lot of sense, because you face plateaus regularly, especially as an advanced. So implementing slow centrics and isometrics could be your main focus for some time, and then you can switch up things and make them as a secondary movement. Meaning you can have blocks of 4-12 weeks, which you do which your main work is isometric holds or slow eccentrics to get your tendon stronger, to get the movement stronger in those weak areas for better CNS adaptation, for better tendon strength. Then you move to your regular normal dip, normal pull-up, time 5x5, 3x5 training style. And why is this? Doing this when you face a plateau, for example, you're doing dips and you went to 50 kgs and you failed, and that's a wall, that's a plateau. You do a deload and you start implementing these isometrics or slow eccentrics. You do it for 4 weeks, 8 weeks. You start with 20 kgs, you go up, you go up, you go up till you can progress no more. And then you switch up things and you go to the 50 kg again and you see, oh, I broke this plateau. It's easy now. This is a way to use these methods, or you can use it as a secondary movement. For example, you do your normal dip, 3x5, and then you do a 2x3 slow eccentric or paused. This will cause a lot of stress in your joints, so you have to be careful when implementing these methods, okay? So muscles adapt in weeks, but tendons take months to get significantly stronger. Expect 3 to 6 months of consistent tendon focused work for noticeable improvements, mainly as an advanced. Advanced athletes get 3 to 6 months, even 1 year, to put 2 to 5 kgs on their main lift. Another thing is submaxial high rep work. This is something that you should implement too. Have phases of high rep work and phases of low rep work, higher loads, meaning higher intensity versus higher volume. Switching up these two, having blocks for these, can be very beneficial as a strength athlete. As I said before, I've seen this mainly with powerlifters. They tend to stick to the low rep, big loads for long periods of time, and switching things up can be very beneficial for more work capacity, muscle growth, preventing injuries, getting your tendons stronger. And getting back here to the tendon thing, start implementing tendon work in your program if you're facing plateaus, but you have to program it in a smart way, doing 4 to 12 weeks of this, and probably 6 sets a week of slow eccentrics and pause work, because if you overdo it, it can cause a lot of stress in your elbows and your tendons, and probably you can injure yourself. Overdoing it is not good too. You have to do the right volume, the right dose, depending on your level and what you're currently working at. So that was it, guys, for this video. If you're interested in my coaching, go in the link down below, schedule a discovery call, and see if we can work together.